Good afternoon. My name is William. I'm with A.P.C. Photography and the Collective. Basically, I'm doing this live stream because of last weekend. There was Folk Life in Seattle, which was awesome. We did a mentorship program where we had several students who had attended our live streaming and live production classes. They want to know what's the best camera package to start off with, and they've got a small budget between $5,000 and $6,000, and I took a moment to think about it. I wanted to take it to heart so that when I talk to them later today, that they have an option. That was weird. It just restarted the live stream. Hi, my name is William Davis. I'm with A.P.C. Photography. I don't know why it just restarted, but it just redid. Uh, Basically, this live stream is due to the fact we did a mentorship program at Folk Life for live streaming and live production, where our students had an opportunity to try out everything from a television Blackmagic studio production suite to using any type of camera they wanted to for live streaming and production. Got a few questions from our mentees, and they wanted to know what's a good package to buy that will allow them to go right to work for less than, say, $6,000. And that's all they had in budget, but they wanted to be able to go right to work and make money. And there's two cameras that lead these packages, the FX30 and the Panasonic S5 II. Make sure it's the X version, not the regular version. It has to be the X version with the new updated firmware 2.0. And let's start talking about these two cameras. I'm going to start off with the one that I already own, which is the FX30. There are some criteria to this program too. You must be able to shoot in log. You must be able to have a RAW. You must be able to have an MPEG-4 or dot move deliverable to a client that they can put immediately on screen or social media. Must have a USB-C webcam hookup so that you can do the live streaming immediately from that camera while still recording internally, which is a huge piece. 2 hours of 4K 60 recording capabilities. Reason for that is not everybody wants slow-mo. A lot of people want that 60 so they can slow it down to the timeline that they want. And that's the reason why most of the professional cameras don't have an S&Q program. They actually have 60 or 120 frames per second, and that's important too. Must have the option to record RAW externally to the monitor, and audio package. That audio package must be a wireless lavalier system that has clip-on mics and some form of recording device, even if it's internal. The units themselves, there are a few units that can do that in the United States, and there's several that can do it across the globe. What else we need with that? Oh, lighting. Forgive me. Lighting. Must have lighting with it, and a video tripod that has a fluid head. That's it. That's pretty much the criteria. It can be full frame. It can be Super 35. Autofocus would be a priority in it, and a 24 to 70 equivalent lens in full frame or close to that. So it could be a 25, it could be a 26 to 105 type equivalent, but it needs to be that so you have the versatility to do interviews, talking heads, wide shots, the whole combination. Let's start talking about it. First camera we're going to do is going to be the FX30. Like I said, it's one that I already own. That's going to be so this is the FX30. Let's talk about some of the pieces it fits in the criteria. Number one, you can do RAW out of that camera through the HDMI. You can also do USB-C streaming as a webcam. It does have an all-eye ultra format, 4K 60 output through the HDMI, and the internal recording, a deliverable MPEG-4 265, autofocus, which is fantastic on it, really robust audio. So you've got 4 channels of audio capability, a fan that works all day long. So if you put the fan in it, make sure they can work in some of the worst conditions I've ever put a camera in, and it still functioned. That pretty much talks about the Sony. It is, well, a Super 35. It's not a full frame, so you would have to get an equivalent lens. So let's talk about quick, and then we'll start going through all the criterias. 0.8 is actually a lens. It gives you roughly the 25 to 105 equivalent with an f2.8 So you have a lot of depth of field that you can crush or open up and give a lot of equivalency to see the whole crowd. Goes only to f16, so there are some differences there. Without going to f22, you will find yourself into some lighting situations sometimes that are really, really hard. We'll talk about how to fix that in a second. But overall, nice lens. Autofocus is going to work on it great. It is specifically designed for an E-mount, so this is the lens that would make that FX30 just shine. Monitor-wise, this is the new Ninja. So I say Ninja V, but the new Ninja. I recommend always looking for a kit package. The reason why you look for a kit package is because it would have every tool you would need alongside the camera. Come on, there we go. Including the batteries you would need, the plugs, your mounting. So if you do a V-mount battery later on, you can just plug in where the D-tap. If you're using a USB-C, extra cradles, and then of course you have a way of blocking out sun. That's a good way to start. Makes it safe for you starting off your journey. A lot of this equipment will be across both cameras we're talking about here, so we can just say this one for the same Panasonic can also record RAW, but this allows you to record RAW, 4K 60. I believe it even goes up to 120 with this particular monitor. Don't know why it's got a 3.5 review, but I've used them for years. It's been an industry standard using these, so overall it's been a good product line for us. Next on the list would be the Atomos Connect feature. Essentially what it gives you to work with a more robust editing team. This monitor can now send that information cloud to cloud. There'll be a reason why I brought that up, because both systems will have this in it. Let's talk about a tripod. This is not an accessory. It have a fluid head on it, which is extremely nice. So when you have a fluid head on it, you have a lot of options there. You have extra mounting. This part is pretty cool. You can mount in a monitor on the side there versus right on top of your cage. I like that. You've got a locking pan and tilt, which is really good. This part you won't always find on fluid heads that are in this level price. You can change the actual friction level, and this gives you a lot more versatility and usability. And this will be going across both cameras, so I don't think I'm going to be spending too much time talking about these features on the other cameras. Mainly it's going to be lenses. I'll talk about the differences. Next, as we talked about lenses, we have the K&F variable ND filter. Simply put, gives you 1 to 9 stops of ND. It's variable, so it's not just fixed at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stops. You just kind of dial it in. It fits perfect. And I like using these because most of the systems that you find with internals on the cameras are either 2, 4, 6 stops. The only one that has a really robust setup in the sub $10,000 range are going to be the Sonys with the electronic versions. If you get up into the $25,000 range and $30,000 range, there's others that have the same type of features. Let's talk about lighting. Simply put, an Amaron 300C, this will be across the board, so it's the same type of lighting. Gives you RGB lighting. An Amaron gives you 300 watts of lighting. It gives you the ability to go from 2500 to 7500, and it gives you full RGB. So you're going to have a full combination of everything you need for $600. That's just solid, plain solid. You're going to come out ahead. Let's go over to the next one. Next on the list is going to be your softbox. These are simple stuff. You're going to have a nice softbox, a 36-inch. You'll want to have a grid so you can control the light so there's less bleed off. This gives you that. Both packages will have a similar softbox. Cage. The Sony cage is a little different. It's going to have pieces that are anchored to the handle, and then it's going to have a wraparound cage with a handpiece on it. You still will need a mount for the monitor, which is this right here. Overall, it works out really good. And then the last thing you'll need is a matte box. That matte box will cover getting rid of any excess light. And do you need that? It makes a huge difference when there's a lot of lighting in the room. You don't want any bleed out getting into the lens, and that does make a difference in the end result. Memory. I've chosen to go with external memory and external recording with this particular package. There's a couple of reasons why. You can get a client to pay for the memory they're going to use, or you can use your own external 1 terabit. And this works really good because the Atomos can record, depending if you want to invest an extra $100 in it, you can record a 265 in the Atomos and it's ready to go. You can deliver it directly off of those hard drives and they can just connect it to their computer and download the information right there. And you still have a hard drive in which you can edit yourself later on. And there's reasons to do that. Always preserve your hard drive in your computer versus using the external hard drive and burning through that. Last but not least is going to be audio, and that's going to be the Rode Wireless Go system. This is the Pro version of it, in which we use a lot in our own. Speaking of which, I'm using it right now. We use a Pro system because it's versatile. It comes with all the tools you need. So you'll get the clip-on mics, you'll get 2 of those. You'll get 2 transmitters, 1 receiver, the option for time code if you want to use a time code in it, ability to monitor right off the unit. You do not have to put sound into the camera, so you can still be recording on these units here and using scratch audio on the camera, so you don't have to worry about if transmission worked or not, which is really nice, and then sync the audio later. There's a lot of options when it comes to this Wireless Pro system. Plus, there's new expansions coming out in about a month and a half. It's going to be their handheld stick microphones that will also have internal recording. Each one of these units has 30 hours of recording. The new handle will have 40 hours of recording built into the units. So you can just work with those. They're 32-bit float, super versatile. Both camera packages will have these pieces as part of them. Overall, I think it'll be a good set for you. Plus, you don't have to buy an external recorder and syncing that later or worrying about it. Plus, if this is hooked up to the camera and it loses connection, you will always have the recording on the units. And you can sync that up later in post or give it to the client and make sure that they have a clean and clear audio. Sometimes our creative team prefers to use external audio that's synced up later. That's pretty cool. Lastly, let's talk about the competition camera. The competition camera is going to be the Panasonic. Everything else I talked about earlier will be in the same package. The Panasonic will be the replacement of the camera, and the lens that's in there will be a different replacement lens. I gotta get better at doing this. I usually don't stand behind the camera. I'm always the one in front of the camera. I'm always the one behind the camera. All right, let's look at the next option here. Let's head over to trusty Adorama. All right, this one hurts. This hurts. Panasonic Lumix S2X camera. I bought the FX30 a little over a year ago. Had this camera been out before, I probably would have bought this camera, even though it doesn't have many launch levels to go up into cinema in the Panasonic lineup, which is part of the reason I went with the Sony. This camera can do a lot, and I mean almost too much, it seems like. But let's talk about it. So the camera we're talking about here is the Panasonic Lumix S5 II. It's a full 24 megapixel camera. So this is getting like your clips and your whatever you want to do. This is great. This lets you do 2 jobs in one. So you can be a photographer and a videographer. Number 2, it does have internal all-eye. A ProRes version of it, which is super nice. It has RAW over HDMI. It has 2 versions of RAW. Oh my God. Blackmagic RAW and ProRes RAW, which means if you like Blackmagic, you can use Blackmagic RAW, or you can use the RAW that comes off of the Atomos. I chose the Atomos monitor because I've been using it for a long time. My experience with the Blackmagic one, syncing audio is an issue, and since audio is key to me, I always like to make sure that that's possible. This camera also has a couple other really cool features I wish the Sony had. Being able to record off of an SSD via USB-C, awesome. Cloud to cloud directly from the camera, mind-blowing. I mean, absolutely mind-blowing that can do that. It's full frame at $2,000. Mind-blowing. Has a fan already in it. Both have different applications on it. So the fan is actually built in up here. On the Sony, it's on the back of the camera. But so far, I have not heard any complaints or seen any reviews saying that it died because of it. Autofocus. Concerns. Its autofocus has never been deemed as spectacular. Sony's is, and I can trust it to do a lot of things. And I'd have to rent this one for the weekend to see the final results. I've had other experience with Panasonics, but I don't know this one as well. So I'm just comparing two really good cameras that have great reviews from a lot of people. And this is a great way to go. Little jealous. Little jealous. But overall, just a really nice camera. It's going to have all the features that I just discussed that are important. It has a deliverable 264. It has, I believe it's a dot move, not MPEG-4, but it's still a great way to go. It does have things like OpenGate, a few other extra features in recording. I have found OpenGate not to be a huge issue for deliverables. It is for those who are doing social media deliverables. So, for example, if you're doing deliverables that are going to go to Instagram, that are going to go to Shorts, that are going to go to 16:9, all off of the same footage. Yes, OpenGate's really nice, but there are some limitations. This does have the ability to record both internally and externally and all intra that is 60 frames per second. Like I said, slow-mo is not really important. You can always slow down 60 frames. When you're doing the SNQ type stuff, it doesn't always translate very well. And plus, people like having all the audio. So sometimes you record something, putting it in slow-mo, but you keep the audio at its regular pace. Overall, solid camera. I think if you were looking between the FX30 and this, and almost leaning towards Lumix, almost. I'd have to see how it performs in a 5-day beatdown test. That means we're actually running it for a full week of production with lens going a whole day. So 4 to 6 hours of actual record time, all the rest of the works. You know, let's see what actually happens on a 10-hour full day. If it survives, I probably would lean towards this over the FX30, but I know the FX30 works well. The journey path up in the FX30, being able to go with the FX3, the FX6, the A9, the FX9, and then forward is compatible with all those cameras. Live streaming capabilities are on here too, which is really nice. So, I mean, overall, solid camera. I can't tell you no. I'm also saying, yes, this is a great way to go. Last little bit, since the cart here has combos, my gaffers understand what I'm talking about. Both had a soft box. This one's parabolic, the other one's the other, but they're both similar to a parabolic, and you can interchange these to any type you want for the same about $100. Really easy to work with. Both have the Amaron 300C 300 watt RGB light. My gaffers will understand that this basically puts you in a really good situation to where you can light up any scenario, add any little extra flavor to it, and it's really good. Both have 1 terabyte of some form of memory. I went with external for this. You can't beat. You need 2 hours worth of recording. This is it. What's really nice on this part, what a lot of clients don't get, what a lot of clients get, they love, a lot of videographers don't get, is you can get a little case for $20, put that hard drive in it, deliver it to them. They can start editing off of it. They can pay for it. So this could be a piece that you don't have to pay for, but when you start off, you need to have one of your own. Both have an ND filter, both have a matte box, of course, all the accessories needed to mount the monitor. Both will be using a Ninja V, and both will have a cage of some form. And last but not least, both will have a 24-70 or such equivalent lens. The other one was 24-105 in full frame. This one's 24-70. This is a Sigma. The last one I used was Tamron. Both are great third-party manufacturers. You do not have to go with first party. This is an art lens. It's 24-70. This is going to be a 2.8. Now, here is the key thing. The 2.8 on a full frame versus a 2.8 on a Super 35 does change the compression. because you're looking at a 1.5 crop on the Super 35 or 1.6, you're looking at it's going to be, well, a little less compression. This is L mount. The L mount alliance is growing. You're even seeing some of the cinema cameras. So you can put the Panasonic with other cameras, but you're not going to be able to go up the same path. This is pretty much the whole thing. Bottom line is you're going to spend $5,500 for this package, roughly, and you're going to spend about $5,500 on the other package. So both of them are great. Both are a good way to start. If you were to start your career right now and you want to be able to bill out the equipment, and this is key. You still do rental fees on this equipment as if you were renting it from like a Glazier's or someplace else, because this has to be replaced at some point. So put your rental fees on there, and you can put your rate on there, because you have to rent the equipment anyway. Your client may have to rent the equipment anyway. And if they do, which they normally do on set, this can add upwards to $300 to $500 to your set fee daily. Now remember, if you go 3 days, that's a whole week's worth of rental. So remember that. So if you got 2 days of rentals for up to 3 days, and 3 days of rentals for up to 5 days for the full week for all this equipment. But like I said, you can add an extra $300 to $500 to your shoot for every single day for the first 3 days of a 5-day shoot. Have live streaming capabilities. You have the ability to go do anything you want, from a movie to talking head interviews to live streams. The whole works with this setup, and you're a winner. There is one bonus. I have to bring up this one bonus piece. On the Sony FX30, the handle itself happens to have an XLR input. You can do something with that you cannot do with the other camera setup. That is, get audio from the audio board at an event for a live streaming and get super clear audio. You will not be able to do that with the Panasonic. So like I said, there's advantages for each camera. I've stuck with the FX30 for a long time with the handle because it gives me the full robust package that's fully cinema. I can run a shotgun microphone, get information off of the audio board, having the scratch audio with and everything else. I do a lot of live events, so it has an advantage. Both are cinematic in capabilities. Both have a true 24 frame. So overall, you're just going to have a win-win situation. Both have RAW, both have a deliverable, both are solid brands, both have history in video productions. So overall, solid win. Thank you everybody for watching. Gotta go. Appreciate y'all. And this isn't my normal spot, so you won't see me too many of these live streams. I'll just be doing videos with other people. Bye-bye.